Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam amma ba'da habati fil assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As'al Allah kareem rabbil arsh al-azim and yatawallana fi dunya wal akhirah. Habati fil, I wanted to offer some tips as there are many questions with regards to learning the Arabic language. And these are tips for the Arabic learner, the Arabic language learner with regards to learning for Islamic studies. And the reason that is the topic, because most of us, meaning as Muslim non-Arabic speakers or Muslims in general, we want to learn the Arabic language and acquire competency in the Arabic language in order to know and understand the Book of Allah, the Quran, and the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam better. And that we want to, sometimes the goal is maybe communication with scholars that speak Arabic or what have you. So regardless, one of the first tips that I can offer is determining your purpose of learning Arabic. Is it just that you want to learn how to read and comprehend what you're reading? So if it's just reading comprehension more or less, so you can practice your religion better. Or is it that you want to be able to read and write? You want to be able to write, which is a whole nother skill. With regards to being at a language skill, is learning how to write. Or is it to be able to communicate and speak? So determining the reason, and if it's all of those reasons, that will require obviously more study and more proficiency. But if your goal is to study the religion of Allah and practice your Islam better, then have your intention first and foremost to please Allah and learn His deen, and learn His deen from the pristine sources of the Quran and the Sunnah. Secondly, along with that intention is that you make maximum effort. It is not easy to acquire another language for most of us. And so that requires that you study and you put the effort into it. And as an Arabic proverb goes, Man jadda wajid. Whoever puts in effort will gain something. وَمَنْ زَرَعَ حَصَدْ. And whoever plants a seed, they will reap something from that seed. It will grow something. So likewise with the Arabic language, that if you're putting in the effort and you're maximizing your effort and your energy in your studies and disciplining yourself, then you will gain something. You will better your levels of comprehension and skills. And you don't need to look to others and see what they've learned in a similar amount of period, or what do you know, and what, you're comparing with yourself. You are elevating yourself, and keep that in mind. Thirdly, it's very important that you are consistent in your studies, that you don't take large breaks and you don't stop. Otherwise, that will set you back in your acquisition of the language. The next tip I want to mention, ahabati fillah, is that when you're on that journey of studying, that you are disciplining yourself with a regular, even if it's a small effort. Some people, they like to make vocabulary cards. At one stage in my learning, I used to carry around we used to have these little notepads, and you just have tons of vocabulary. The problem with that is there's a lot of vocabulary you might get and you never use, okay? And one of the things that I find, having been a language teacher for the English language for a long period of time and being a student of Arabic for a long period of time, is that there's a natural way of learning language. And when we look to the way children acquire language, they're not studying grammar extensively and nahu and sarf and these things. These are very important tools. and poetry and stuff. Those are advanced skills. But begin with, especially listening is very important for those who want to comprehend lectures and things like this. Listening a lot, listening to tapes, even if you don't understand, and going through the process of being through a manhaj or a curriculum that has a series of books or what have you, and preferably with a teacher. So sitting with your teacher and your teacher elevating you in stages, step by step. And that way you'll have a lot more strength at the end of your journey, because a lot of times when we self-study, or we have one teacher here, and then the next time we have another teacher, and a brother in the masjid teaches us, and we get this class, and we quit and we stop. A lot of times you don't have the consistency and the strength of the competency that you would get from a strong program. For example, if you studied in a place in Egypt in one of the centers, or you were in Saudi Arabia in one of the centers that teaches you Arabic, and then you go on to the college, they have a methodology, they have a curriculum. But when you're self-studying or you're piecing together with others, sometimes you can gain a lot of bad habits or mistakes that keep with you, or you just don't have the consistency. There's certain aspects you miss because you didn't have a consistent curriculum. That doesn't mean you have to be in a program, so to speak. In the formal, the informal ways are some of the best ways with the scholars, but that means you need to be consistently sitting with the scholar and going through his program, his curriculum, so to speak, of raising you in your acquisition of the Arabic language. So that's also very, very important. And as I said, one of the things, and you'll learn this even in the grammar, that when it comes to understanding the Arabic language and acquiring the Arabic language, is you need to do it like the Arabs. It's their language. So meaning following the way that they followed and laid down, especially in grammar and things like this, you need to learn in accordance with a methodology that is proven. And you can't try to innovate new ways, so to speak. I don't mean using new technology, but I just mean that when it comes to how we understand the language, we need to go back to the classical Arabic sources and comprehensions. Otherwise, you can easily be led astray, because especially when we're talking about the religion. So it's very important to know how the Arabs use the language, how they use terminologies and so forth, because it's the Arabic language. Okay, so that's why if you want to come learn English, you need to go to preferably native English speakers that are educated teachers that can give you, there are things that you can get no matter how good your teacher is in whatever country, that if they are not, having that cultural context of the language and the acquisition of the language, you may face some problems and some misunderstandings. So very, very important. As I said, Arabic, it's a process, and you'll reach milestones. You may get to a stage where you feel like you're stuck. And then at that point, that may be the time when you need to do some switching up in your studies, or you need to listen more to tapes, try to transcribe lectures or bits and pieces, or, gain vocabulary, because the thing about listening is then you're listening to how the Arabs use the language. So one of the things that I personally benefited from, and how the Arabs, from sitting in so many classes with scholars, how the students of knowledge, how they asked questions in the Arabic language. It didn't matter if they were Indonesian, Somali, Ethiopian, Algerian, from Ghana, from Gambia, from Saudi Arabia. We were all speaking in Arabic language. So there was an usloob, especially, and all the non-native speakers, they learn the aslub of the Arabs because it's their language. So there's a certain way and a certain scholarly way of asking questions. Okay, so a lot of those things, that's where language and culture definitely cross paths. So those are just a few tips. If that works for you to write and write down vocabulary, but like I said, I guess this is the last important point, is language is acquired best, I believe, through usage. So if I learn a whole lot of vocabulary, but I pick up a book and it has nothing to do with that vocabulary I've used, and if I don't build my vocabulary and things in stages, so maybe start with children's book, that really helped me. And that helped me in grammar as well, a lot, from children's books that they used in middle school in Yemen. Also, I think in maybe grade school, middle school. I don't recall using high school books necessarily, but that really helped me a lot in grammar and vocabulary for communication, So learning vocabulary in context and in its usage is going to help it stay with you. If you're listening a lot to tapes in books in Creed and Aqidah, well, also picking up Aqidah books, taking them and, going through that and listening to the Sheikh, this will also help you. And you've got to remember, so Arabic, you're layering it on. You're layering it. Now, all I do is read. I don't study Arabic like I'd like to. I'd like to get back to studying Arabic and even advance my Arabic and my grammar better. But I read a lot. And because I do some translation and I teach a lot, and I teach using the Arabic language a lot of times mixed with English as a medium. And that's for me, especially, to keep my flow, to keep my reading, to keep my, and even I build vocabulary. So maybe I'll read something and I understand a large percentage. Maybe I understand 80, 90%, but there might be a few words which can change meanings of sentences that I might need to look up. And that's just because of layering the knowledge. You layer it on. It's a step-by-step process. Don't give up. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad.